What's good, YouTube? Dorsey made gaming here, y'all, and my battery's dead on my laptop or whatever. So I wanted to do this little review straight up, facing the shot, chin hairs looking like whatever. Anyway, but I want to do this basically a review kind of on both games in a little bit, but basically which game is better between Shadow of War and Assassin's Creed Origin. Now, I'll start off with the pros and the cons to both games. Starting out with Shadow of War. Now, Shadow of War is a very good game. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan. I don't know all the characters and stuff. I know Golem, that's probably it. But as far as story, I'm not into the story. I like it. It's a good story. But Shadow of War is a extremely fun game. I'll say that it is extremely fun. The story is good. You can follow the story without knowing who the characters are really. The gameplay, it's smooth. It's very much improved from Shadow of Mordor. It's very much improved from the previous title. The graphics are great. The fighting system is the biggest draw to this game, the Nemesis system. Between playing both of them about the same amount of time right now, well, no, not the same amount because Assassin's Creed. Anyway, I've played both of them for a lot of hours. And Shadow of War, while the gameplay itself, it gets repetitive really quick, that is kind of numbed or dulled down a lot because of the Nemesis system. Now, for those of y'all who don't know what the Nemesis system is, it is to me the single most greatest thing ever put into a video game. You're fighting these orcs and things like that, and each one of them that you fight in battle, if they kill you, they remember you. And then as far as the captains go, if you kill them, they remember you. The game, they remember each other, and they come back stronger or weaker, depends if they defeated you or not, and there's dialogue associated with that, and this is with every single captain in the game and war chief and things of that nature. You can put them under your spell in a sense and have them fight for you. That's kind of the gist of Shadow of War. You're getting these orcs to fight for you. You gotta take over castles and forts and things of that nature. The game is really fun. The fighting is really fun. I mean, it's your typical hero style of fighting where, it's just you and you can take on a whole squad of 150 orcs, literally, and win, beat them all. And it reminds me, the reason I'm comparing this with with Assassin's Creed is because they're two very similar games. Because Shadow of War fighting style reminds me of the old school Assassin's Creed. Reason why I say old school, because the new one is different. We'll get to that in a second. But where, if they're about to hit you, you can just push triangle, what I'm saying, counter it. And they even have some pretty cool stuff in the game where you can counter it and automatically, take out the orc and stuff like that. The game is awesome, y'all. The graphics, like I said, the graphics are on point. I'm a huge graphics person. 2017, we better have good graphics. The Nemesis system is the biggest draw. Now, the cons to Shadow of War is that outside the Nemesis system, it gets repetitive very early. I mean, it's essentially after you get to the second chapter, where you're taking over the castles and stuff like that, that's pretty much the gist of the game. Now, I haven't got to the end game yet in it, but when I do, I'll give a final review on it, as well as Assassin's Creed Origin. This is just pretty much an early review, early on, being, 10 hours into both of them or something to that effect. A little bit more in Shadow of War. It's been out a little bit longer, but I digress. But that's the only cons to it is to me in Shadow of War is that it's a little bit repetitive. As any open world game is going to have some repetitiveness in it. Like I said, but it's a con, but it's not a major con. It's not a deciding factor in buying it simply because the Nemesis system kind of keeps it fresh. Also, I feel like they did improve on the upgrading attributes and stuff like that for your character. I just kind of wish it was a little more in depth because there were a lot of things that were carried over from Shadow of Mordor to Shadow of War. And while it's refreshing and welcoming, the new additions, the older things, I kind of wish that they, just went a little bit deeper with or added something completely new. But that's just my opinion. So as far as Shadow of War goes on a scale of 1 to 10, I really give it about an 8 or a 9. Because like I said, I'm a huge open world game fan. I love open world games. I love RPGs, and it is a great combination of both. And the fighting is good. The story is good. The graphics are good. And it's so much better than the first one. Like a lot of sequel games or, stuff like that, some of them get worse, but this one actually got better. And I was really impressed by that. Plus the open world is a lot bigger and stuff like that too. So 8 out of 10 for Shadow of War, and on to Assassin's Creed Origins. Dum, 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 dum. I'm a big Assassin's Creed fan. First of all, I'll say that. Second of all, I'm not such a fan of the later ones like Syndicate, Brotherhood. I liked Assassin's Creed 1 through 3 because I like the old style. Once they got into like Britain and the cities and stuff like that, I was like, I don't really care for that. Now, I would have liked an Assassin's Creed like modern, like now type of thing where you're in a major city like that. That would have been kind of cool, but they did the whole like Britain, London, Paris type thing. They did that a little bit too much. I kind of like the old style. And Assassin's Creed Origins is Origins. I mean, it takes it back to the beginning, and it is awesome. The graphics are great. The story is, to me, one of the best in the Assassin's Creed series. The fighting mechanics are completely different, y'all. If you are used to playing Assassin's Creed, you are not going to be used to this fighting system. It doesn't take long to get used to it, but it is something that when you see it, you play through it, like you see it on YouTube and stuff, but once you actually get your hands on it and actually play through the fighting system, it's like, okay, I see what's going on here. And it's actually something that I want to perfect. There is skill associated with it, as opposed to, well, I'm going to do a comparison later, but there's skill associated with the fighting. The story, as compared to the other Assassin's Creeds, are to me a lot more in depth. I actually want to know more about the story. I want to know more about the side quests. And that's really a plus for me because I haven't had that experience really since the second Assassin's Creed. That first one had me hooked. I was like, wow, I really want to know more about this story type thing. I was a little bit upset whenever I found out that you still got the girl that's jumping into the Animus. Yeah, I was like, man, I really thought this was just going to be straight story, nothing outside of it, But yeah, we got a girl, and she's in the Animus or whatever like that. So pretty sure I'm going to have to do something with her later on in the game, but I digress. So the fighting is a plus. The story is a plus. The overall game, the world. Let's do pros and cons, okay? So pro is definitely the combat system. It's not like your traditional Assassin's Creed where you just, like I said, just push triangle, dodge, punch, 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 and you're automatically locked on. You have to literally lock on to your target. And this is not an Assassin's Creed where you can just run in all willy-nilly. You're fighting against 4 or 5 people at the same time. Unless you just Superman, you probably gonna get killed a couple times before you get used to it. And no, look, I can't just run up in there. I gotta really be an assassin. Whereas in previous Assassin's Creed, you can just run in there all willy-nilly and just counter people all the time. So the fighting system to me is a plus. The graphics, of course, are a major plus. Another con is the upgrade system. The upgrade system, it's really good. It's really fun. It's interesting. It makes me want to upgrade my character. But I also like the way that the game made it to where you can't just go and fight and kill anybody. Like in the previous Assassin's Creed, you could just assassin anybody. Just, hidden blade, Can't do that on here. And you have to unlock it as well as some of your other skills that you normally came already equipped with in the previous renditions of the game. It's awesome. So that is a plus as well. The world. It is open world. This world is huge. Probably, to me, in my opinion, the biggest map, I would say, since Just Cause 3. It's huge. It is huge. I was showing my wife the aim. I was like, look, man. It's like, oh, man, that's pretty big. And I said, yeah. And I showed her on the map where I was at and the area that I was looking at. And yeah, it is huge, which is an open world fan's dream, open world gamers fans' dream. So that's definitely a plus. Now, cons for the game, which y'all, me personally, I really don't have many. I'm gonna be honest, man. I really don't. There's not much, if anything, that I don't like about the game so far. I would have to say, if there's anything I don't like about the game, is that it takes a long time to kind of get to where you're going, and there's no sprint button. I mean, your character runs by himself pretty decent speed, but there's no like sprint button. And I mean, you have horses and camels, and I guess different, the horses, they have different speeds and stuff like that. It doesn't take terribly long to, get from one place to another. Plus, once you unlock the synchronization points, you can just fast travel. So that's not a big problem either, which is also in Shadow of War. So that would be my only con is the movement. I kind of want to get to where I'm going a little bit faster, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad they didn't do that because it kind of forces you to enjoy the game. Another con is the side quest. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and, since we've got it, scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. I love it. And like I said, if you are a previous player of Assassin's Creed and you stopped playing it because of how the previous ones were, you need to get back into this because it takes you back. Like, as far as how the game feels and stuff, it's never been this good. It's never been on this level with the story and everything. So if you were a previous player, you need to go and get it and play it again. Get this one. It's great. It's worth it. So, comparing the two, because they're two very similar games, which one to me is better? Drum roll. That's my fingers tapping. I don't have a drum. Assassin's Creed Origins. It's better because the draw for me between Assassin's Creed and Shadow of War is Assassin's Creed, while the world is bigger, that's one. With Shadow of War, it has a pretty big stage as well. The comparisons, the leveling system as far as the gear and stuff, it's pretty much the same. I mean, you got your common, your uncommon, your rare, your legendary, your like exotics. And these games are starting to take a lot from Destiny. And I know Destiny wasn't the first game to say that. There's some PC gamer out there that's going to be like, no, my game had it first. But I digress. They're the same as far as the weapons and stuff. However, in Shadow of War, where you can have any weapon and damage anybody in Assassin's Creed Origin, nah, your weapon better be on the right level or it ain't happening, partner. So I do like that about Assassin's Creed more than I do Shadow of War. That is the similarities. As far as the fighting, the combat system in both of the games, Shadow of War's combat system, like I said, is similar to the old Assassin's Creed games, where you can just fight 150 people and triangle out. Because I was doing it live stream, maybe last week before last, and people was like, oh man, you just fighting, 120 something people, just, as long as you dodging and countering, you ain't getting hit. You can't do that in Assassin's Creed Origins. And I like that because while you can fight off a group of people, it forces you to be more strategic in what you're doing. So it makes you think, and I like that. I mean, you can go in all willy-nilly if your level is high enough, because if not, you will get owned with the quickness. So combat system, I'm voting Assassin's Creed Origins over Shadow of War, simply because Shadow of War, it's the same combat system. It hasn't really changed that much. Graphic-wise, Assassin's Creed Origin is beautiful. I think the stage, it's a perfect set up in Egypt and stuff, because Egypt, to me, as far as the most, prestigious moments in history is the Egypt Empire, and going back, seeing the pyramids and everything like that, it's awesome. Now, as far as story goes, I'm kind of the same right now on the stories. I would say Assassin's Creed Origins as far as story, if you're wanting to get into a good story. Unless you're a big fan of Lord of the Rings, then you'll probably choose Shadow of War. But if you're not, then Assassin's Creed Origins has a very good story. You want to know what's going to happen next, and even the side missions have very good dialogue and things like that. Now, as far as the overall games, like I said, they're two very similar games. But if I had to choose for you, if you had to say, DM, which one should I get, Shadow of War or Assassin's Creed Origin, I would have to say Assassin's Creed Origin, because it's overall, it's a better game. The fighting system is better, the graphics are better, the leveling system, it's a little bit better. I mean, because they're very similar as far as leveling system. Now, that doesn't mean the Shadow of War is not a great game. Shadow of War is a very good game, but the major deciding factor for me, especially with any open world game, is repetitiveness. And although Shadow of War does have the Nemesis system that keeps it fresh, outside of that, it is extremely repetitive. While Assassin's Creed Origins pretty much is too, you know, aside from like the side quests, like, because the side quests, like I said, they offer very good dialogue. It's not like the exact same side quest every time. You know, it's a different person, different characters, different dialogue, different story, different mission behind it. And while I've put in about the same amount of hours into both games right now, I don't feel that sense of repetitiveness from Assassin's Creed Origin as I feel with Shadow of War. So all in all, y'all, I'm voting Assassin's Creed Origin over Shadow of War. But that's all I got for right now, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to hit that like button. Till next time, y'all, and God bless.